you said earlier that you joined Parliament, then the Chamber of Deputies, first as a member and then as a Speaker or President. And you said you joined the Chamber because you wanted to get things right. Did you succeed in doing so? Did you help making things right?
After I've been elected by the people of the Lidata and Karanyoka constituencies, I became member of Parliament. Immediately after I became a member of Parliament, the members of Parliament elected me to become their leader and became president of the House. Of course, that didn't stop me from arguing on the points that I like to argue. The only thing I do is, if I want to argue, I will leave my position for the second man and get down to my seat. I've done that several times.
What were you passionate about as a member of the Chamber?
I thought that government should go a better way, because it's very, I cannot say oppressive, but very backwarded. Nothing is happening in a modern way. I was aspiring to make the countries I have known, like Great Britain, Canada, Sweden. Those are countries I used to go to for training and back and forth. What I see there and what I see here are so much different. And I thought I must contribute in making it more modern.
What do you mean, that you were arguing for a kind of constitutional monarchy?
Definitely. I wouldn't say that get down to the emperor, but he could have at least allowed the parliament to elect a prime minister of executive, and he become constitutional monarch. That hasn't been easy. Sometimes he has shown it might happen, but the more the opinions come up, the more he wanted to stay on. You
graduated from Holota as a sub-lieutenant way back in 1944.
37 Ethiopian calendar.
Does that kind of help you prepare for life in politics?
Well, one thing the military could do to you is, in fact, I recommend for any young Ethiopians to become a military before they take any other job. It makes you a man. You become a man independent. It is a tough job which makes the younger people strong. And the army played a lot on that. For me, it made a man out of me.
Do you mean that this is not a place, the army is not a place for women?
Well, I didn't discriminate. I'm not talking about gender issue now. I think it's good for women as much as it is for men. My definition of that, it makes you strong. It makes you a man who can work for the country hard. And it makes you more nationalist than what you are.
So the army was a hotbed of nationalism. That's where you kind of think about country, about service, about things like that? Is that what
the country that I'm defending, the country that I'm fighting for? So if I do that, why? What is the country doing for the others? It makes you ask questions that cannot be answered at the time.
So your training in the army got you going, but you also underwent other trainings. You were also a pilot, weren't you, before you?
I started as a flying man, as an airman, but then I got the opportunity to go to Canada to be trained on something higher than being a pilot, to become first air traffic controller, and later the air traffic and air administrator.
Are you a very flexible person, because in your life you've done lots of things? You've joined so many institutions, from aviation to politics, the army, and so on. In other words, you don't want to be stuck in one corner. When that doesn't work, you move on.
It's not that I've created a habit of moving from place to the other, that I'm moving.
But flexible, perhaps?
I'm not rigid anyway. I can accept anything that comes. But I make sure that I've been doing well. Wherever I go, I see to it that I fit and perform. That I do. That I've done everywhere. And in fact, I've never asked for transfer, neither for increment of money and so on. But whatever has happened to me is the judgment of the others who work with me. You can say flexible is all right.
You were elected twice to serve as the president of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. When you were asked for a second term, did you say, okay, I'm going to do it, I'll be happy to do it?
I couldn't reject such a good... In fact, it was difficult for me to accept the first time. Once I'm there, I'm used to the place and I got used to the work. I said, okay.
So the second term was much easier for you to accept. But then...
Too bad there is no third time.
Oh. So if there was a chance for you to continue, then you would have done that?
As long as my health permits it is.
Are you a healthy person?
So far. Physically, in recent years, I'm off and on, but thanks to God, I'm okay.
Mr. President, it's very interesting that you've been in a number of, I wouldn't say charitable organizations, but non-governmental organizations, not-for-profit organizations. What is that drives you?
Basically, I like to work for people. I am socially conscious that people need more service. And because of that, before I went into politics, I was a member of our own regional IDR. I created the collection of IDRs to become the IDR Association to the extent of 360 IDRs to become in one and command the Addis Ababa city as a whole. In fact, when the Derg came in, the only authority in the city hall was the IDRs. In fact, then we created something that they call it SSS. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Social Service Society. Under the Jamazou Selassie's time.
When he was the mayor of Addis Ababa,
Yeah.
What happened in the 60s?
SSS, Social Service Society. We are the ones who created the community houses in Lidata region, in Aware, and rehabilitation center in Kolfe, to serve the people, the need of the people and so on. All the time that I've been around, I'm working for the social. Red Cross, of course, have been with me for a long time. It depends how much time you can give for it. When I was in Eritrea, at one point I was a bit disguised because not only Red Cross or HEO, and a good number of institutions choose me. And I used to sign about $1 million check every day. Not mine. The others. It's a matter of being trusted.
Do people trust you?
Mm-hmm.
Has that continued to this day, even when you assumed the office of the president?
I don't know if some distrusts me now.
Do you reach out to people, drive out of this palace and meet people? I know.
Unfortunately, I cannot do that because of the security arrangement, but that's what I would have liked to do.
You would have loved to do?
Yeah, I like to be close to the people and be with the people.
One of the things that comes to mind when people talk about you is your role, the environment. You were a president of LEM Ethiopia, basically working on the environment or helping address. How active are you in that project as we speak?
That again originally it comes from the Red Cross. When I was in the Red Cross, I was the president of the Red Cross in Eritrea. And the president of the Red Cross of Ethiopia was Dr. David Zewde. At one time, what is the disaster in Ethiopia? in the drought. Why drought? Air condition. What to do? So instead of trying to help people when a disaster comes, mitigate the drought, avoid for the drought not to come. So we started this in Wollo area, from Uchale down to Morkanna. We call it, the English version is UMCCDPP, Upper Mille and Chalaka Disaster Prevention Program. Imagine disaster prevention program. We started that. We got some assistance from Japan and Germany and so on. The trees that have been planted in those days are being harvested now. There has never been a drought in Wollo area ever since because of that intervention. You'll be amazed if I tell you that there wasn't one fish in hike. You know hike?
Hike, close to the sea, absolutely.
No fish. But our Swedish advisor, he was surprised and he studied the water. He brought some tilapia and put in it. Now the best fishing area is hike. That's also the program of disaster prevention. This is what I mean by serving the people. Do something good, particularly in our country when nothing is done yet.
So I know you've kept doing that, helping.
After that, when time allowed for the societies to be created, we got together about 31 of us and created LAM Ethiopia. Oh, in fact, I have it.
All right, okay. Is that my copy? Oh, okay, this is,
That is our coat of arms.
Yes, okay, yeah, exactly.
You know our coat of arms, Gureza?
Yeah, exactly, there it is, yeah. Here we go, this is it, Gureza. Yeah.
Even my ID is Gureza.
Okay.
My visiting card is a Gureza. Why? We have chosen this animal. We could have chosen elephants, lion, rhinos, anything big, but no. The only animal that does not live anywhere else but on the trees is Gureza. When the tree is not there, Gureza is not there. Now she stands on the branch, dry branch of a tree. Or she is heading for doomsday. Finished. And we want a question to be asked. This human being that does everything, going even to the moon, cannot survive unless if the air is hostile, does not have better energy than Gureza. So we are, as much as the Gureza is dependent on the vegetation in a tree.
Interesting, but 50 years ago was it, because you were involved in the Kafa Ilbabur timber project. You were basically logging, weren't you? It was
That's
a business.
business.
That's business.
Business, but to harvest trees.
But you were logging, right?
Logging and planting as well. I bought 200 gashas of forest in Balad Etaka. It was sold for 30 gasha then. I can get $300 from a plant. But the idea was to create a revolving forest that could be harvested all the time, as it is in Europe and elsewhere. It is with the idea of, I can say, fighting poverty, although we did not utter that, because this is one unit of that. It will amaze you. From, you know Karen?
Yep.
After Asmara,
Yes.
90 kilometers.
Right.
And from here to Asmara, 1,080 kilometers. I planted from Karen, citrus plant, a mango plant, got to Asmara overnight, down to Addis. I started Friday and planted it in Gibe on Monday. which is still the best forest.
Very interesting.
With a Volkswagen car and myself, nobody else.
Can you summarize for me, can you tell me briefly what you have achieved as a president of Ethiopia?
I have the duty that is stated on the Constitution, and I think I've performed it. I can say performed it nicely, because nobody told me that I'm wrong yet. And I'm happy that I am finishing my term with good marks.
When you say good marks, what does it mean?
And not being demoted. Because if you don't do good, someone will accuse you or people will cry about and so on. This hasn't happened during my time here. I was lucky that everything went smoothly. I'm lucky. I thank God for that.
Some disappointments?
Not in my position of as the head of state. There are certain challenges, but I've overcome them.
These are challenges to be overcome.
Some of them could be difficult. It's a matter of your outlook, such as pardoning is not an easy job. But if you believe in it, stand for your decision and things go well.
Mr. President, how old are you?
I'm only 89, going on 19, 6 months. Getting younger every year.
What does it mean?
Should the clock back?
What do you plan to do after you leave office?
Pretty much of what I've been doing in the past. Say Red Cross, generally social work. What I have intended to do and I would like to do is to go to Eritrea and tell our guys there, isn't it enough that we're apart? Let's get together again.
Do you think you could be successful at that?
I'm sure I will manage it. Be success, maybe, yes. But the people of Eritrea are very good friends. And the same family with Ethiopia. There is no difference whatsoever. The leadership matters. If people were asked today, what do you think about Ethiopia? They will say what they have said about 50 years ago when they united with Ethiopia. Of course, the unity now does not mean that we have to be together in governance. But at least we can be good neighbors, like the Sudan, Djibouti, or Kenya. Why can't we be good neighbors? They benefit from by being a good neighbor, and we profit by being good neighbor. And people-to-people meeting will be better, and it's easy. Eritreans are very nice people, really. I spent 21 years of my lifetime there. In fact, I have the right to share land in Ta'azaga, Hamasin, because they have a tradition where someone has been there about 40 years, he can straight away become a land owner, which is a great privilege. But they qualified me not because of the 40 years, but my 1 year is better than 10 years.
Do you have any regrets, Mr. President? Do you often look back?
I have no regrets in what has happened to me also, but the only thing I can never forget is, when we have left old airport and moved to the new airport, I was heading an international civil aviation conference in Montreal, and it came to I suggested that why not give the old airport to international civil aviation so it becomes Air College for Africa. And they accepted it. They said, subject to your government's ratification, we'll come and start, because they had one school in Monrovia for Francophone, and one school in Arusha for English speakers. If they can bring the two together and put it in Addis Ababa, it's good bilingually, trilingually, and so on. But unfortunately, when I came back, I have not lost only my seat, or what you call it, office of civil aviation. It took them 7 months to replace me in that position. You know why? They were looking for someone who likes Americans. I'm not in quarrel with Americans because of Americans. It was a struggle to become more Ethiopian than and that struggle, of course, they won the case. They got me out, and they looked around. After 6 months, they got someone who lived in America as a member of our embassy staff and made him a director general. His first proposal is this crazy Matualeka brought us problem. Your Majesty, you cancel it for us. And the emperor doesn't know what to say. It was cancelled. That's the only regrets I have. Had it been implemented, the aviation industry in Ethiopia could have reached the stage that it has reached today 30 years ago.
Mr. President, thank you very much indeed. It was a pleasure.